Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, I'm Stella and I love making miniatures for my Barbie's dollhouse using mainly cardstock. In today's video, I'll show you how to make this Santa Claus inspired miniature dollhouse, and yes, you can use this as an ornament for your Christmas tree. As always, I have a free printable template to help you make your own version, and you'll find all the infos and the download link in the video. So now, let's get started, shall we? To make a base floor, cut this part twice and glue the two sides together. As usual, I recommend using cardstock from old packagings for this, since it's really easy to cut but sturdy, and we typically already have lots of it at home. Use a brown marker or acrylic paint to color one side of the floor, including the edges. Then print and cut this part and glue it to the other side, this way. And if you don't have a printer at home, you can simply color this side of the floor with acrylic paints. To make the front wall of our little Santa's house, cut this part 4 times and glue layers in pairs. Set one of the pieces aside for a moment and cover the other one with a couple of coats of acrylic gesso. We'll only have to paint one side. And as always, my little advice is to sandwich the painted cardstock between 2 layers of kitchen paper and let it rest under a heavy book for a few hours to straighten it and to soak up all the humidity in the paint to make sure it will not bend over time. To make the glass part of the windows, we'll need a piece of clear plastic. I used an old plastic baggie, cut it into 3 small sections, and glue them over these holes in the wall. At this point, we can take the part we set aside earlier and attach it on top of the other this way. The final piece should be roughly 2 mm in thickness. Next, print and cut this part and glue it to the front of the wall, bending the sides so that they cover the edges. And once again, if you don't have a printer available, you can recreate this wood pattern using acrylic paints and an embossing tool, as I showed you in this tutorial. Now cut these tiny window frames into a lightweight type of cardstock and attach them to both sides of the wall this way. Once you're glued in place, you can add some shading using a light brown acrylic paint. Next, print and cut these strips and glue them to a piece of cardstock to make them appear more three-dimensional. You may also want to color their edges with a brown marker or brown acrylic paint. Glue the strips to the wall, this way. Now that the front wall is ready, we can attach it to the floor. To make the side walls, cut this part a few times and glue layers in 2 groups, both approximately 2 mm thick. Coat them with acrylic gesso on one side, including the edges. Then print and cut this part and attach it to the outer side of both walls. To make the second floor, cut this part 3 or 4 times and stack all the layers together until you get to a thickness of around 2 mm. Paint one side of the floor with acrylic gesso. Then cover the opposite side with this part. Glue the side walls and the second floor to the rest of the house in this order. Next, cut this part 3 or 4 times and once again stack the layers together until you have a final piece that's roughly 2 mm in thickness. And just a reminder, if you have a Cricut or a Silhouette cutting machine, you can use my digital templates, which you can find in my shop linked in the description box. Repeat the same steps for this part, which we'll have to make twice. Coat the resulting 3 pieces with acrylic gesso on one side. Then cover the opposite side with these parts. To make a little door, cut this part into lightweight cardstock and glue it to this wall, one per side. Repeat the same steps for this part, and I suggest using a piece of cardstock in a different color to make it stand out a little. To make a tiny door handle, I used a couple of mini beads, and as always, you can find a short list of all the supplies I used for this project in the description. Next, cut these strips, and just as we did earlier, glue them to a piece of cardstock to make them a little chunkier. Then glue them to the front of this wall. At this point, we can attach these 3 parts to the rest of the house, this way. To make our little dollhouse's roof, cut this part 2 times and fold both pieces along this line. Glue them together like this. Then cut this part and glue one piece on each side of the little roof. Next, cut this part of the template, put it along the line in the middle. Then cut this part twice, fold the two pieces in half, and attach these three elements together this way. Finally, cut this part and glue it to the top side of the roof. Paint the assembled pieces with dark brown acrylic paint. Then cut this rectangle into copy paper and glue it to the bottom of the bigger roof. Attach the finished pieces to the rest of the house. Then, to make a little chimney, cut this part twice and glue the two sides together. And if you're using my free printable template, you may want to use an awl to pierce this tiny hole. Now cut this part 2 times and glue the layers together. Repeat the same process for these parts, and at this point we should have these 4 elements ready. Assemble them like this. Color the little chimney with a white base. Then paint some tiny bricks using a couple different shades of brown or red acrylic. Lastly, glue the chimney in place. To give it the illusion of a snow-dusted roof, we could use pre-made fake snow, but you know me, I'm obsessed with paper, so I decided to make my own DIY paper snow. And all we're gonna need is a piece of regular white copy paper. Yeah, that's it. Simply scrape the surface of the paper sheet with a pen knife, or even better, with a coarse nail file. And you should end up with this. Spread the dollhouse's roof with a mixture of white glue and water and sprinkle it with this paper snow. This was literally my favorite part of the entire project, so much so that I decided to add some snow to the dollhouse's base and windows as well. In the end, I still had a little bit of paper snow left, so I mixed it with some green paint and glued it to my dollhouse's front door to mimic a small wreath. And our Santa Claus-inspired miniature dollhouse is ready! Oh, and rumor has it, if you put it to your ear, you can hear a faint ho 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 in the distance. Try and let me know. As promised, here's the link to the free printable template, and if you're in the mood for more holiday-themed miniatures, you may want to watch this playlist next. And this is all for today's video. Until next time, bye!